Gail's Garden Herbs and More. I want to be talking to you on this video about Survival 101. Last one, this is a series. Number one was dealing with water, some different ideas and suggestions. And this one is going to be about food and about bartering, some ideas for bartering, and some ideas and things about food. And I try to think about things that aren't exactly like everybody else, what everybody else is showing. So right now I'm out in the garden, and I'm just picking what little bits available. And there's not a whole lot right now. This is chamomile, but I have chamomile spread around. So I'm going to look around and see. I'm getting little tiny bits by bits, but I go put it in my hanging dryer, and then when it's dry, which doesn't take long in this heat, it's been really hot, 112, 110, 107, back up to 110. I mean, just jumping all over. It's just been so hot. So I'm not going to be able to stay out here very long. I've had some family emergency and things that's been going on, and some family in my home, and just things dealing with different things. And so thankfully I had some videos already made and scheduled to come out. I'm not sure when I'm going to schedule this one for. I am trying to do my preparedness survival videos on Fridays, so I'm trying to move things around and post them on Fridays. Anyway, let me get started on the video for you. Listen to the different segments. For a while I'm just showing some food on the counter, but I'm talking about a lot of different things and suggestions for bartering. And then I'm going to show you a few other things, what you can do for storage, and just some different varied ideas. I think it's really important that you pay attention, because we're going through a lot of stuff, and even if our food chains weren't so touchy right now and things happening, there's a lot of disasters. Anything could happen. It's always good to have the food storage. So yeah, here we go. I hope you enjoy it, and give it a thumbs up, share on your social media. If you haven't subscribed and you like my channel, then please subscribe. It doesn't cost anything. It's free. It just helps my channel. And here we go. I keep saying that, but I'll honestly let you go and listen to the rest of this now. So, catch you in a minute. Oh, wow. I just ate one of these little things of some yogurt I put together. It was the best yogurt I've ever eaten in my life. Oh, my gosh, it was so good. What I did was I just had a little thing of berries like that I poured in a pan with a little water and some sugar, probably just under half, let's see, 1, 2, 3, maybe 3 or 4 tablespoons of sugar. I don't know, heaping. I don't usually like sugar, but I went ahead and I boiled it, and I let it boil too long. I was busy in the other room, and I smelled it, and I go, oh no, and I ran in here. It was still there, but had almost like a burnt sugar, which is really good, but not in a bad way. Almost like a caramelized brown sugar and blackberry. That don't even sound right. I don't know how to describe it, but I added a little more water. Now look at this. Get all the water out. See, it's pretty thick, but not overly thick, even with the added water. It was perfect. I put some yogurt in my little bowl and mixed up about 3 tablespoons of that in it. And the flavor was like out of this world good. Oh my, I'm going to put some more, put lids on them, and put them in the fridge. Now, I have this, which is a pretty good plain yogurt, because you're looking at a quart of milk inside of my dehydrator. And, see, I didn't get that bottom cleaned out first. I put, about 3 or 4 heaping tablespoons of, not real heaping, but, yogurt, that yogurt back there you were just looking at, in a quart of my goat's milk, mixed it in, and you need 110, but this one doesn't do it. It does
does 113 in others, but it doesn't do exactly 110. But that's close enough. So I got it on 113. Now, I've made yogurt before and it turned out just fine, but there has been occasions I've gotten yogurt that just didn't want to make good yogurt. But it was perfect the last time, so I'm hoping it'll turn out perfect this time. This yogurt's what I used for my starter that I put in there, the 3 tablespoons of it, that gets it, you mix it in and it gives it the probiotics, the live probiotics. But I have some extra of this, and I didn't want it to go bad or anything, although yogurt usually lasts a long time. But I'm going to go ahead and use it, and then I'll save some of mine in a separate little container to make more if I get more milk. My daughter's got the goats, but she's only milking one of them right now, so, and that's her big goat. But she's giving quite a bit of milk, and the babies, she's got the babies sold, who'll be going to a new home soon, so they'll be drinking the milk from the baby because the babies are big enough to take off the mama now. Well, that one never was on its mama. They had been bottle feeding it. The others are, but they're eating hay. All of the babies now are eating hay. Anyway, talking about food and my food preparedness, if you can go back and start making yourself make things from scratch the best you can. I have noticed in the stores, I don't know if you've noticed it where you live, our stores are like stacking things right along the front to make it look like their shelves are full, but when you look behind it, there's very few cans, if any, behind it. And also, they're getting less and less choices now. I've been noticing that for a while, but it's really gotten bad lately. When I was a kid, it seemed like we had a lot more choices than we do now, which we're just blessed in this country to have so many various choices. But why now we don't have all the choices we want? So many things are happening to our food chain and the chain supplies that go to the store. So we may not even be able to get yogurt at all, much less all the different flavors. Who knows? Hopefully that's something we will continue to get so people can enjoy it because it's really good for you. But this is whole milk for my starter, but my milk itself is not cow's milk, it's goat's milk, because goat's milk is much easier for the human body to digest. The fat globulars, I can't even talk, are much smaller from the goat because it's milk for a smaller animal. Cow's milk is harder to digest, harder for the body to work at, and people seem to develop more problems with cow's milk than with goat's milk. So anyway, yeah, but I didn't have any goat's milk yogurt, so I went ahead and it's just a little bit, and I put it in, and I'll be making it. And then from now on, I'll just save some of my goat's milk yogurt back and use it to start my next batch. So the more that you can do yourself, the better. And I know that's not always easy for everybody because some people are working outside the home as well as trying to do a lot of things at the home and raising kids and all kinds of things like that. I've been there. But if you can do this, it's not really hard. But it's the things that you can find that you can do to continue to give your family a choice, more choices to choose from of good natural food. You may come a time we can only get a very few things, or there may be a few months you're living off from your storage supplies, and maybe you only have rice and beans and a few things. If you can get some milk somewhere, and if you don't have a goat or a cow, barter with somebody. What do you have that you could barter with somebody that has that, so they can get some of what you have and you can get some of what they have, and you can stretch that food and not get tired and sick and tired of just eating beans and rice and get to where you don't want to eat at all. Yeah, we need to learn to barter. Now, I tell this story a lot because when my kids were small, we had goats then, and we knew some people, and he was, he could do a lot of things. He was a mechanic, rebuild bodies and cars and all kinds of stuff. Anyway, we traded them a baby goat, and I needed a bumper on I had a little Ford Courier truck, and I carried hay in that thing and hauled kids because we had seat belts in the back. Now, when I was a kid, we didn't have seat belts. We just rode in the back of the truck. But by the time my kids came along, it was illegal unless you had seat belts in the back, which I did because there used to be a camper on it that had seat belts. They were installed properly. The kids would just sit back against the cab and put the seat belts on. But anyway, we bartered that goat. He built a bumper. Let me tell you that it not only was it a nice looking bumper, but it was solid. It was, I could have, if I ran into a tree, I probably would have hurt the tree, but not the truck. And it was really solid. I'll never forget that barter. But down through life, I've done bartering here and there, and it's always fun. It is so fun to barter. Right now, I'm almost doing that with my daughter because she's got the goats and doing the milking, and I give her eggs and she gives me milk, and we both have things from our gardens. My lemon balm, when I transferred it, it did not do well, but she has lemon balm, so she gives me lemon balm too. And then when I have extra of other stuff, I give her that. Or sometimes when they're really struggling, if I can buy a bale of hay, we buy that and take over there, and they give us milk or whatever they might have that they can share, but they've got all the kids, so they don't always have, it's hard. And I want to make sure that the kids have things and they have things and they share with us so that I have good, healthy milk. And it's great when you have family you can do that with. If you don't have family you can do that with, then try neighbors like we did with the truck and the goat years ago. And there was other things that we bartered here and there with people, but it was always fun, and we always laugh about that one. But there are things you can do to try to get food right now and be setting stuff back. Even my mom, she knew something was coming, and this was back in, let's see, I think she passed away in 2010. It was just a few years before she passed, and she was showing me she'd been saving up stuff in storage and special buckets and this and that and here and there, and she was showing me what she had, and she says, now listen, and she had a bunch of liquor stored away. She goes, I'm not drinking this. She says, I am using this for barter. She goes, that's one of the best things there is to barter with. Plus, it's like antiseptic to pour over stuff. Nowadays, what I would do is use it to make my tinctures, and with my herbs, it'd be even more antiseptic and all sorts of other things, depending which herb I used. But back then, I didn't have as many herbs. I did know about some, and I did have a few, but not as many as I do now. But Mom knew. Mom had been born during the Great Depression. Grandma would probably be more the one to talk to than even Mom. Well, I think Mom was pretty young during the Depression. But she did know about bartering and what things went and you could barter with. And people that want their alcohol, man, they'll get if they don't have it, they'll try to find a way to find it for you so they can get some of alcohol. Another thing you could probably barter with, but I don't even want to try, is cigarettes. Some people probably do about anything to get some cigarettes. But I probably wouldn't do that because if I couldn't barter the booze, I could at least use it for tinctures. There's no way I'm going to use any cigarettes. So you kind of think along those lines. What can I use or set back, or what would be a good bartering tool to have, something that people would really, really want and would be willing to barter for? There's just, you've got to get them the right mindset on your food supplies. Now, another thing, a lot of people buy big bags of dry beans and rice, and that's good. But what happens if you don't have a lot of water? It takes a lot of water to cook that stuff. So what I mainly do, I do have some dried stuff too, but I am trying to keep stocked up on cans. Now, I also go through and eat from these, but when I go shopping and stuff, I try to replace what I've eaten and buy a few extra more too. But just an idea for you to think on, canned foods they're already cooked. It doesn't take as much energy of whatever kind you're using, or also it doesn't take extra water because it's already been cooked. You just open it up, you can warm it up or eat it cold. So I really think canned stuff are really good. to have on hand because you've already got your liquid in it. But that's a thought anyway to think upon. Okay, now you may say, Miss Gale, I just live in a little tiny apartment or a little tiny place, or I'm just renting a little room. You really can find places to store food. I'm not going to show you all my places, but let me show you something I am doing. This is under my bed. I just use the boxes that they sell these half things with. Fill this up. You can buy those big plastic boxes that are short and put under there, but instead of spending the money on that, these are all sealed well and everything. I just put them in that box so I can pull the whole thing out and store it under my bed. I mean, there's places that you can store food no matter where you're at, and I would suggest you get some and start. Whether it's just buying a couple cans each time you go shopping if you don't have a lot of money, or buying a whole little case like that. But you really need to be working on that now. And even if nothing ever happened, you still have that food. It's really nice, especially if you have extra company that comes over or whatever, and you've got extra food. You don't have to run to the store, or you just don't have to go shopping as much if you don't want to, you're busy at home, don't want to have to run to town every week. Whatever. There's just, it's not a waste. It's always good to have that, or if you lose your job for a while or whatever. But I'm telling you, I'm seeing a lot of things in our food supply chain now. Maybe we'll get it all straightened out by next year. There may only be a few months that we have to go through this. But people, we really don't know. We really don't know how long it's going to take to get straightened out if we do get straightened out. But at least if you have some, it helps to get through the hard months. Now, I know that's not food, but it's a very convenient thing that's nice to have. But if for some reason, and that's not a whole lot of storage for that either, that's just a little bit, just living out in the country, that's good to have some stored back. But there's something else, like I found a yard sale that was all free, put on by the Elks up in the mountains. And it was pretty well picked through. This is a really nice soft material. It's a shirt that's too big for me. No one in my family seems to be able to wear it. But it's nice soft material. So I picked this and a few other things up. I can always cut that up. And I'd hate to, because it's just so cute and the material's so nice and soft. But I can cut that up and use it for rags, for toilet paper, for whatever it needs to be. You need to have a few extra things like that, that you can use if you have to. Be thinking on these lines. Be thinking outside the box that we've been put into and trained to only think in. Quilting. I have several quilts. Wanted to pull this one out. I really like this. I'm trying to remember what they call this type of material. It's really the best material to make quilts because your cottons and stuff seem to wear out more. This is what they used to wear a lot of in the 70s. A lot of the clothes are made out of this. Maybe somebody can put down below in the comments what that is. What do you call? It'll come to me after I make this video. Yeah, I threw this up here for you to see, and then the one I have on the bed, it's also made out of that. And this is an old quilt, but it looks really good. To be an old quilt. I have several from both sides of my family. Somehow I ended up with a lot of quilts. Now I have one that was made out, well actually I have more than one, but I have one that was made out of cotton and stuff my grandma gave me on my 18th birthday. That one's just kind of something special to keep. I did have it on the walls for years. It's getting faded, and so I just hung it up on my wall because it was so pretty. It's called a wedding ring. The single, was it? Something about the wedding ring, I think was the name of the quilt pattern. But some of these I actually, not this one, because that's from my other side, the other side, but this one, no, I think Grandma may have done all this one, but some of the quilts, I only had pieces and parts, and I finished and put the quilts together and stuff, when Grandma passed away. Actually, before she passed away, she was giving me some of her stuff. And I worked with her on some of them. But, yeah. Quilts, you just take pieces and leftover materials and start sewing it together, make the top. Now, these are I think this one's a tie quilt too, but I don't see the tie as much on it. Maybe not. It just sewn in, but it wasn't really a quilted top. And this one you can tell it's a tie quilt. And after you get what you're going to put in between, because you're going to also have a bottom layer. See how this is different from the top? I'm not going to give you quilting lessons, but it's really not that hard. A lot of them just hand sewed everything and quilted, but you can tie quilt it. Something to keep in mind, where you run it through and then you cut it and tie it. If you don't want to take all the time to do the tedious quilting by sewing. People used to make quilts quick because they needed them to use for their big families in the old days. And you can still do that if you have lots of material packed away in your attic or whatever. Just start cutting it up and sewing it together and make some quilts for the winter. Now, a lot of people don't think about tea as being food. This isn't regular tea. I grew this as lemon thyme, and I just finished picking all the little dried leaves off and putting it away, but I had some left over that didn't fit in the jar, and I kind of ran out of little jars. I had to really stuff it in there. So I just put the rest in here. That's going to make an awful powerful cup of tea. Oops, almost dropped it in there. Because there's a lot. I may save that and just set it back to make another cup of tea. But there's a lot of vitamins and minerals in that. It's really good for you. And why do we eat? We eat to get the energy, but also to get vitamins and minerals and stuff, which you can also get out of many leaves, which I have videos talking about that. Down below the video, there's a description box. And if you go down there and look, I'm going to put some links to some of my videos concerning food, because a lot of people put about food storage and cooking out of your pantry. I even have a video on a meal out of that that I put on another channel, their list with all their others cooking out of the pantry. But yeah, you can make teas out of all kinds of leaves. I mean, if food gets scarce, there's always all kinds of leaves and wild herbs and stuff that you can make things out of. You can make teas, you can put them together and make soups. There's just a lot of things that you can do, but I have other videos and all that. So this one I'm going to cut short for the food section. Just a couple of ideas I wanted to throw in there for you.